Not sure that I understand how these two things go together because the story is that apartment vacancies in Montreal are way up. Why? Lower demand, thought there was higher demand, and new construction, but I thought the new construction wasn't selling. I'm trying to understand what's going on here because in the midst of all this, rents continue not to go down, but to go up. So let's try to put this in perspective if we can. Francis Cortellino is the economist with the, I'm looking at the story right now, which was in the Gazette. He's with the CMHC, responsible for Quebec as his region, and he's on the line. Mr. Cortellino, thanks for being here this afternoon.
Hello.
Let me begin by asking what this is about. I mean, do those things, they seem kind of, in opposition to each other, are they?
Yeah, so the vacancy rate increase in 2025 in the Greater Montreal area, we're now at 2.9%. A year ago, it was 2%, and 2 years ago was 1.5%. So we had those rent increase for the last 2 years. But in 2025, it was a bit surprising to see that actually rent growth continued to accelerate in the Greater Montreal region.
And why are we saying this is happening?
Yeah, so if we look at the new apartments coming to the market, there's a lot of, I would say, competition out there at the moment. There's a lot of incentives. They're going to give you 1 month free rent. So there's a lot of incentive to attract and keep your tenants. So it's rent growth accelerating is not in that market. So where we saw rent growth accelerating in 2025, basically we have some landlords, maybe they have older units and they have a tenant that has been in the apartment for a couple of years. The rent is, I would say, far below what is on the market, the market rent at the moment, and they use that 5.9% recommendation from the TAL, the Tribunal administratif du logement, the Tenant and Landlord Board in Quebec. They use that recommendation of 5.9%, which was a record, and this is what they put on the lease for 2025. So this is where the rent growth really accelerated in 2025.
And going forward, I mean, depending on, I know housing starts are out today and they're down. If you're someone looking to rent, what's the best thing to do now? Do you wait? Do you grab what's out there? I mean, the vacancy rate goes up. You think that would be good for renters, not landlords?
So I would say it depends probably on your income. So if you're maybe you have a high income and you want to rent something, I would say there's a lot of options out there for you. And there's a lot of competition among developers and landlords to attract you in the building. You're going to have a lot of incentives out there. So there's a lot of options. But if you're looking for an apartment still below, I would say, $1,200 per month, the vacancy rate increased in 2025, but instead of being near 0%, it's now 1%. So there's a bit more options out there, but still there's not a lot of apartments with, I would say, in the lowest range. So you're going to have, I would say, maybe more difficulty to find something that if you're looking in it for an apartment above $2,000 per month.
How is the condo market affected in all of this? Because I read somewhere that it was beginning to slow. Is that for rentals or for rentals and buying, for purchasing?
So if you look at the condo start, it's been dying slowly in the last few years. Most of all construction in Montreal are for rental. There's almost no single homes being built. There's almost no condo being built in the Greater Montreal area. It's only rental being built. So I would say if you're looking for a new condo, there's not a lot of options out there. You need to go on the resale market, and then you can have maybe some options. And in that case, we're seeing demand being up this year. Price increase around 4, 5, 6% for condos, depending on the area you're in. So on the resale market, there's still lots of activity for the condo market. But the new condo market for newly built, there is almost nothing out there in the moment.
So I'm trying to understand that if that's the case, let's say you're in the market for a condo, be rent or buy or whatever else. If there's being less built and people are not renting, does that put you in an advantageous position as a potential renter for a condo?
If you want to rent a condo, I would say there's a bit more option this year as well. So our survey, the main data on our survey is for, I would say, normal rental structures. Do you also have investors who are renting their condo out there? And the vacancy rate also increased in that segment. So if you're a tenant and you're looking for a condo or, I would say, a normal apartment in a rental structure, you have a bit more options this year than compared to last year. But once again, if you're looking for maybe the apartment below $1,500 per month, $1,200 per month, there's not a lot of options out there. A bit more than last year, but not a lot.
You see that changing at all? I mean, given the fact that, it's getting harder and harder to find an affordable apartment, or people not just simply developers not building those for a reason?
So affordability will remain, I would say, an issue probably in the next few years because it's difficult to build those kind of units given the construction costs that we have right now. But if you look at the Greater Montreal area right now, there is around 26,000 rental units under construction, units that will arrive on the market for the next 2 years or so. So you're going to have a lot of supply coming to the market in the next 2 years at a time where you're going to have a slower population growth because there's less migrants coming from abroad. So you're going to have a weaker demand with all that supply coming to the market. So we can expect the vacancy rate to increase also in 2026.
Well, which sounds like if you wait, maybe you're better off if you're looking to rent, because if there's going to be more supply, that's good for you.
Yeah, but you always need to have a roof. So
True.
it's always, if you have the possibility to wait, it's okay maybe to look at all the options that will arrive on the market in the next few years. But at the same time, those new buildings coming to the market have been built with higher construction costs. Probably the rent per square foot will also be higher.
Okay.
So you really need to take that into account when you look for an apartment.
Can I just ask you, Mr. Cortellino, we kept reading about Toronto. So many people, of course, deciding they'd invest in condos. Now, of course, they're all stuck. No one can sell them. They're all too small. Did we start, or are we starting to see that here to some degree in Montreal's condo market?
No, I would say the thing in Toronto is that there's the share of investors in the condo market. Investors going to buy those condos and rent them out is way bigger than in Montreal. So it also exists in Montreal, but I would say the market is much smaller. So in Toronto, what we saw this year is that the competition coming from rental condos really had an impact on the normal rental structures. There was a lot of competition, and this is why the vacancy rate increased also in the normal rental structures in Toronto, because some people wanted to buy a rental condo because they could have the deal, because it's mostly mom and pop investors, and they need that money to pay the mortgage when they buy a condo to rent them out. But in Montreal, that market is way smaller, so I would say that we saw the same impact that we saw in Toronto.
Just as a final question, if you had to rent now in one particular place on the island, is there a better place or where you get better value on the island itself?
So I would say that, as always, a bit less expensive in the suburbs than on the Montreal Island in some areas. But the thing is that even in the suburbs right now, there's a lot of new construction. So I would say drive around, look at all the different options that you have. There's a lot of incentive. Sometimes you're going to have a cash back up to, I saw an example in downtown Montreal. If you sign a lease for 1 year, you had a cash back of $4,000. So you have a lot of different options. They try to attract you, to keep you in the building. So drive around, look at all the different new projects out there if you have the income to rent those kind of units, and you can find something with great incentives probably.
All right. Appreciate the information. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
There you go. That's what's happening in our rental market here. Like you said, if the idea is to wait because it's going to get better, you need a roof over your head now, so that doesn't necessarily apply.
Introducing Bryan Adams Radio on iHeartRadio. Hosted by Bryan Adams himself.
Join me for an insider look on a wild ride through 40 years of global rock and roll.
Bryan Adams Radio. Now available on the free iHeartRadio app. Or ask your smart speaker to play Bryan Adams Radio on iHeartRadio.
Who's ready to rock?
Kids wanna rock.